Hello and welcome back to another episode of the British and Irish Eagles podcast by Philly Sports International, Paddy Irishman, Paddy Englishman, and Paddy Welshman today as we welcome Mike Sewell back to the podcast. All in time for the Six Nations kicking off. I got some questions for you about that as we get through the podcast. Mike, before I introduce Phil, welcome back, sir. Welcome back to the podcast. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me. You've had a couple of good guests the last few weeks, EJ and Colleen. I'm back to scraping the barrel now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Liam's Rolodex has reached the end.
Yeah.
I got a little list on my OneNote of like people to reach out to. You're on the list, Mike. You're on that list.
That's at least something, yeah.
Yeah, good company on that list. You know, a lot of beat writers on there, ex-players, etc. Good stuff. So, as I said, Phil, you're also on the podcast as always. Me and you, we're the kind of ever present now. Mike's so good last time that we've actually given Tony B the boot. He's been fired, right?
Poor Tony. No, of course not. But it's always good to have a third, I think. So bringing in a bit of a Welsh twang for a change.
It's
just
great,
for a bit
isn't
of
it?
bullying after the rugby, surely.
Well,
Yeah,
that might be on the agenda, although kids in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, seeing how Ireland did. But before we get into some of the fun and games, let's give you a bit of a rundown of what you can expect on the podcast today. Oh, by the way, we're on TikTok. If you haven't already followed us, go and check us out. First video was posted the other day, which was the 2023 trip to Philadelphia. And it's had a few thousand views and likes and comments. So go check us out on TikTok. You can catch all of our short videos on there. If you're not a YouTube person, but you're a TikTok person, get on there. Go follow us. Phil's on there. I'm on there. Mike, I think you just downloaded it as well. So what's going on, guys? We're entering the new generation. We're stepping out of our comfort zone. I'm not sure if Tony Burton is listening in. I severely doubt he is at a TikTok yet. A bit like age restrictions where you have to be 18 or over. You actually have to be like 50 and under, I think, to get on TikTok. So unfortunately for Tony, he can't access it. Jokes aside, we're going to get into obviously the coaching changes. We released a podcast last week, which feels like was it last week or week? I'm losing count. Feels like a month ago we had the Colleen Wolf podcast on, and about 30 minutes, an hour after we recorded, of course, the Eagles announced the offensive coordinator. So our listenership tanked last week because everyone obviously knew what had happened. And I believe the last thing I said about Sean Mannion was that his name sounded like a bunion. And for that reason, I'm out. So that's clearly aged well. And Phil, I think you said aged well a few hours afterwards while I was out and about. Obviously, EJ Smith podcast, not Collins last time around. So we're going to talk about Sean Mannion. We're going to talk about some of the other pieces that he's brought in terms of the offensive backroom staff. A couple of guys on there who we don't know what's going to happen or not with yet. Obviously, the big news that Stout is out. Jeff Stoutland is no longer a Philadelphia Eagles coach. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the run game tight ends coach Ryan Mahaffey, probably pronounced that wrong. We're going to discuss the O-line as well as and what that's going to look like into the offseason and into next year. And then we've got a number of discussion points about what's going to happen in this offseason. We're going to take a break after this podcast, as we always do, for a few weeks to go back to our normal lives. And then we'll be back ready to kick off draft season in a few weeks' time, Phil, probably towards the end of February, start of March, I would imagine. All right, that's the admin out of the way. Phil, should we get into it? I mean, just initial reaction, please, for the new offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Sean Mannion, 33 years old.
Well, we've the last two podcasts obviously as well timed as you just mentioned, talking about McDaniel, Dable, and Kingsbury for that matter, and people who we didn't want to come in. Mannion definitely wasn't on the list of anybody that I know. It might have been popped up in the group once or twice, but there's obviously the discussions about, I think we wanted with the team as it currently is, we thought we need someone who's going to come in right away, make it click straight away, and make use of the Super Bowl window that we're still currently in. Those all kind of went,
Still current.
and
Still says
yeah,
that one.
well,
Revert back to
currently as it stands, but things can drastically change. But we've obviously gone with no play calling experience, high risk, high reward potentially guy. He's bringing his own staff in, as he's already done with Gizzard and Mahaffey. It's Grizzard, sorry, not Gizzard. But he's
Grizz, right? We're gonna call him the Grizz, right?
the Grizz.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been a bit of a mentality shift, I think. We've all been kind of going, we need someone with experience coming in and to bolster it, and someone who can kind of hit the ground running right away. And now we're all having to sort of pivot and kind of go, okay, well, that's not happening. So this new guy, is he any good? And, he's come from the McVay tree, he's come from Green Bay. And there's a lot to get excited about, and there's a lot of people with a lot of good things to say about him. So at least we have the young, exciting talent to get behind. But I think deep down, we're all still reeling from the fact that most people turned us down or didn't want to come for an interview or didn't like Philadelphia as an option because of the way that fans may or may not behave if they don't go wrong. It's all a bit of a
necessarily 100% true, because obviously there were a number of OCs that we found out when they pulled themselves out of the race. It's because they were told basically that they haven't got the job, and therefore to save grace. That's pretty well renowned NFL thing. Obviously, Dable and Mike McDaniel are the two big tickets we went for who didn't come for us. But I wouldn't say the entire league turned the Eagles down. I think there would have been a number of candidates.
No, that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah,
I think we all started the coordinator search, high hopes, optimism, thinking it's a really desirable job. We're going to get the top candidate on the ballot, and we're going to we're going to carry on where we left off. We just had a bit of a blip. Patullo gone. McDaniel's going to come in and electrify the offense, and away we go with all the talent we've got. Everyone's going to want to stay. No one's going to want to retire. Everything's just going to be hunky dory. And now, on top of that not being the case, we've now got a young offensive coordinator who hasn't called plays, despite obviously the buzz around him. We all know how that can quite easily go. Grizzard, obviously being brought in behind him, does have play calling experience, albeit not very good one last year. So there's a lot of variables, and there's a lot to sort of be concerned about. There's a lot to be excited about. It's just going to be a very, very up and down off season. Depending on which day of the week or how positive we're all feeling, is going to be how the WhatsApp group is going to be a real big roller coaster. And it's I'm kind of looking forward to it, but kind of when I get to September, I want to find out. It's going to be too much time to think about whether it's going to be good or bad. But
I'm looking forward to your takes in the season and training camp during the season, Phil, because you always back Howie. You always back the decisions that are made for the coaches in general. Like you've always been the one to say, there must be a reason it'll turn around, it'll come around, and kind of 50% of the time you've been right, and 50% of the time we've all been wrong. But the biggest thing I'm taking away from that is you reminded me of a crisp brand called Hunky Dory Crisps, which is a Tato brand of crisps out of Ireland. So if anyone is listening for Ireland and you haven't had, go get yourself a packet of Hunky Dories. I don't know if they're even still going. I had to go and give them a bit of a Google there. They did a buffalo flavor Hunky Dory crisps. I think they're A-tier crisps. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. We are not sponsored by Tato or Hunky Dory. Mike, thoughts on Hunky Dory crisps and the Eagles' offensive offseason to come?
I don't know much about either, but I'll go for the Eagles because I know even less about Hunky Dories. On the Sean Mannion scenario, I'm choosing to be optimistic. I didn't really know much about him, which means I don't really know anything bad about him. Everyone that I've read up about in terms of his coaching prowess has been positive. People like Matt LaFleur and Mike Daniels said he's very, very promising. He's on the up, and he's one of the smartest coaches they know. He doesn't seem to have a great deal of experience. Like, he only ended up as the quarterback coach in Green Bay because their current quarterback coach retired, and he just sort of took up the mantle. I suppose they could have chosen to give it to somebody else, but he was already in the building. But then what he did with his quarterbacks was relatively impressive. Like Jordan Love didn't have the best season last year, but he only played 15 games and he still threw 23 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. It was something like 3,500 yards, not quite, but it was relatively solid numbers. So from what I know about him, it looks promising, and I'm going to choose to be optimistic.
I like the optimism. Oh, there's a bit of an echo there. Did you hear that, Phil? Bit of an echo?
Yeah, it was
Might
only
be on your.
temporary. Carry on.
All right, okay. Good. We can't have any more technical difficulties on this podcast. Yeah, I'm optimistic as well because I mean, look, it couldn't get any worse. If you know, felt like the Brian Johnson offense, Matt Patricia defense, like when that ended, like not that the defense was that bad, but like the O line was that bad and the offense was that bad and AJ was bad and Jalen wasn't his usual self and the offensive play was awful. Like it can't get any worse with the talent we have. So I'm optimistic about that. I'm also optimistic because Jeffrey Lurie, Harry Roseman, I don't feel like they take swings on people like this unless they are really confident. They
It
took a
does feel
huge,
like a plan.
right? Yeah, there
I
does
will give you that.
because like the Doug Peterson hire, the Nick Sirianni hire, and I don't know these were head coaches, but they were all kind of left field. No one really saw them coming, and they were home run hits. So when they take a big swing, the Eagles, they tend to hit when they take a big swing, and I don't think there's a bigger swing that they could take here because, and let's be clear, as much as I've defended Sirianni to the hilt, and as much as I've defended Jalen to the hilt, and I still think it's bordering on ridiculous. It's my opinion. I'm allowed to say it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous the notion that anyone would say that Sirianni should be gone, given the record. I think it's ridiculous that anyone should be contemplating looking at a quarterback in the 2027 draft, as I know some people are for Jalen Hurts. I think that no matter, regardless of what happens this season, Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback of the Eagles the following year. I don't see personally. Sure, there's 1%, 2% chance, maybe it's 5% chance that he could be traded elsewhere, or he just has a terrible year and we draft someone else. Obviously, that's a possibility. But no matter what happens for me this year, unless something cataclysmic happens with Jalen, he is going to continue to be the franchise quarterback. Nick Sirianni, on the other hand, I think this big swing is basically right. It's like you're playing poker, right? And you're down to your last few chips, and rather than continuing to bet on the flop and going to the river and et cetera, you just go all in and you both put your cards on the table, and then because you're going to find out either way. Like that feels like what the Eagles are doing. Like they're saying, all right, we're gonna go all in here, right? We're gonna rip it up. We're gonna bring in this new young offensive genius mind, which apparently he is. And we're going to, at the end of the year, we're going to know if Sirianni is our head coach for the next 10 years, if Jalen Hurts is our quarterback for the next 6 years, or we might need to go into and what they don't believe in, which is in a rebuild after this year. Because if the offense doesn't click with these new ideas and the West Coast style scheme that Mannion clearly runs, with some of the best offensive minds, Shane Waldron, Matt LaFleur, Clint Kubek, Kevin Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, I think I mentioned already as well. Like these guys are the most creative offensive minds in outside of Kyle Shanahan, but it's still kind of the Shanahan tree as well, right? Um, in football. So if Sirianni waters that down to a period where it's not effective, or Jalen can't, um, you know, run the offense, which I don't. I think the former is more likely Sirianni to water down than Jalen not to be able to do it. Then we could see a big year. So all to say, and I know that was a bit of a long-winded talk track there, but this is huge for the identity of the Eagles, for the personnel of the Eagles, for the direction of the Eagles for the next 5 to 7 years. Not just this season. I think this year is going to be a huge make or break for a lot of people. Um, Yeah, I'm excited and slightly scared, to be honest.
I kind of like partially agree with the analogy about poke. There doesn't feel like any desperation of the situation of the analogy that you described. It's kind of like you're on your last chance. I get there is a little bit of that with, maybe if you want to look at Sirianni and Hertz and go, maybe there's a small touch of, we're going to do everything we can to address all the criticisms, all the people that are saying, oh, they need someone who's his own man and calls plays. We want Sirianni to not be involved. They've come out and made that clear that Mannion's coming in with his own staff and he is going to be calling plays. So they've immediately addressed that detraction from the media and the fan base, and then all those people that worried about Sirianni being involved, they're kind of doing the moves they're making are trying to address all these negative aspects, and in that way they're kind of basically saying, like, if this doesn't work, then there is a problem in Hertz or Sirianni or drafting or whatever. They're basically they're doing like that kind of problem solving methodology where they're going to go and, right, these are the issues, let's address these issues, and then if the issues still keep happening, at least we might narrow down where the problem actually lies. And I'm not saying that's what that Hertz is a problem. I feel like there's a part of that they're going, we need to find out if Hertz really is limited, so let's like completely have a brand new scheme and see how he gets on with it. Sirianni getting
Are you
involved
saying they're
has caused
implementing a rag scheme here, a red, amber, green
possibly
risk management methodology?
Yeah, in a way, because you're looking at it going, if you're trying to find a problem, same as like I'm not an electrician, but I'm pretty sure like when you're trying to figure out where a problem lies in a house, you start
You send
flicking
your
on
wife to do it.
switches and
Oh, sorry, yeah.
you start doing things to narrow down where the problem is. And I feel like there's an element of that methodology here where they're basically appeasing in a way all these different points of view. So then when none of them turn out to be the problem, they can kind of go, look, see, it's not Hertz. See, it wasn't Sirianni getting involved. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. The whole Stoutland situation, how that fits into it, is kind of
We're gonna
kind of
get
backs
there.
that up. I know, but it kind of backs that up in a bit as well, because essentially they, like I said, there feels like there's a plan and they're sticking to that plan. So at least you've got to admire that. It doesn't feel like they're coming in and just going and panicking and going, let's hire this guy. It might work. They clearly have a plan. They've got a decision and they're implementing it. And I kind of admire that, and I kind of feel a little bit more. That's probably where I draw most comfort, is that it feels like there's a plan. If it felt a bit panicky or a bit reactionary, kind of how the defensive coordinator position situation from a couple of years ago went, and we were like, there just doesn't seem to be. They're just trying to throw enough shit at a wall, and some of it sticks. But with this, it feels like we're going to give this guy a chance. He's not got any play calling experience, right? Let's get Grizzard in as a support. So we've interviewed these two guys, the main guys. We've brought them both back in for second interviews, thinking only one of them was going to get hired. And the fact that Grizzard obviously has been interviewed twice for the offensive coordinator position and is happy to take the passing game coordinator shows that he also believes in this plan. He's been told this
I
plan.
agree, and he clearly respects Mannion. You wouldn't.
And he respects. He's happy to go, okay, well, I'm not going to get the top job, but I can see what they're trying to do. And actually, if I do this and I pull my weight, I'm going to help this guy succeed. And then, I might get another shot at an offensive coordinator as well. So I think that there is a plan. There is a plan.
I think Grizzard can bring a fair bit to the role as well. Like when I looked into some of the stats around Grizzard, like when he was at the Dolphins offense looked really impressive. They had some really good stats. So like things like in 2023 for the whole season, they had the most passing yards per game on average. That shows that he's happy to bring a sort of aggressive style to an offense. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what we need, because we were so conservative last year. We need to flip the script on that.
It's a really good point, Mike. Let me give you two scenarios here, based on what Phil was saying and what I was saying and what you just brought to the table there. And the backdrop, maybe the preamble to this, or the reason I'm asking this question is, we're talking about, and I've just said it could be make or break for Sirianni this year. I don't think it's make or break for Hertz. Quick question first: is that fair, given Sirianni and Hertz have had a new offensive coordinator every year? Like, is it fair? Now, don't answer that yet, because it's kind of part of it, right? So is it fair to have that when they've had a new offensive coordinator every single year and they've made the playoffs every year and they've been to 2 Super Bowls and won one, et cetera, et cetera? Is it fair to say that Sirianni is on the block this year if it doesn't go well? So that's that question. Then there's two scenarios, and I want to ask, which do you think is more likely? Do you think it's more likely that the Eagles are going to give Mannion 2 years no matter what happens this year? Or do you think it's more likely that they're so confident on Mannion that they brought Gizzard in to step up into the OC role next year after Mannion gets a head coach role if he does well, and for them to keep that kind of same offense in place? Three questions: is it fair for Sirianni to be on the block based on the offensive coordinator every year? And is Mannion going to be here for a couple of years, or are they planning for Grizzard to take over?
Personally, for me, I think they're going to have Mannion for 2 years. I think consistency is everything. That's been proven by Jeff Stoutland. Our OL has been fantastic for a decade because of the standard that he introduces and then drives home consistently throughout time. I think it is unfair to suggest that Sirianni and or Hurts are on the chopping block based on the inconsistency they've had at the offensive coordinator position. So I think their plan will be to keep Mannion for a couple of years and try and influence that sort of consistency, which will help Jalen Hurts and the offense in general. I also think to sort of calm everyone down, there needs to be an obvious sort of hierarchy. Like if you think at the end of last season, like when we were in that playoff game and Patullo calls the same play that he's just called 2 minutes earlier, and Jalen Hurts is turned into Sirianni.
And Sirianni's kind of like, well, all right, if you called it, you got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we need to get rid of any of that. So there needs to be a clear hierarchy and a consistent outlook.
It's a good shout. Phil, what do you reckon?
You know when if you ever played computer games and you would create your own character and you get to the stats screen and you'd have that little
do it all the time, by the way. I'm a geek.
Yeah, I bet you do. You have that little spider diagram where you can choose to, do I want them to be really fast or really strong or whatever.
Make my character 6'1", even though I'm 5'9", all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
These moves to me kind of echo where you try to get it as balanced as possible. So you don't want to sacrifice any area. You don't want to have a risk in any area. But you don't necessarily want to be full bulletproof in any area. So you could hire a guy who's had all the play calling experience under the sun, but then you'll be sacrificing harmony with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. You don't want to make him too subservient because then you're going to sacrifice an area. This move just feels like me as a person trying to find the perfect balance because I'm frightened of being having
perfect fence.
A perfect fence. Trying to be like sacrifice an area for another area. Basically, you want to be kind of average in every area, but you don't want to be poor in one area so you can be good in another. So
you got to play the chips, so you put mayonnaise, ketchup, and barbecue sauce on the side.
I don't know. So they brought someone in with no play calling experience because they don't want to impact. They don't want to have someone who's going to upset the apple cart with Nick Sirianni. They don't want to bring someone who knows Nick Sirianni too well because they don't want that narrative to be running in this. They want to come in, they want to be completely different because they want to either prove that Jalen Hurts is the guy because he can play no matter what scheme is and he can excel as long as the play calling is competent, or that he is limited and we've just highlighted the biggest flaw. They want to find out either way. They don't want to. They want to bring in a guy with no play calling experience, but they have. So they've supplemented that and balanced it out with Grizzly coming in, and there feels like they're trying to find. It's not just one move. They put this piece in here, and then a few other pieces to basically supplement any negative points about Mannion. So if Mannion has come in, so same if they brought in that the Rams guy. I know Shieldhouse.
Yeah.
Would they? You guarantee they probably would have done the same thing because you can't get the experience, or you don't want to go for the experienced guys. You're going for the inexperienced. So how do you supplement inexperience by building around it, supporting that decision? It's not just a one piece thing, and it feels very much like the Eagles have tried to sort of cover every single base with this decision. And if they'd got someone like McDaniels, they probably would have not needed to do that as much, but you would risk someone coming in having that dynamic upset with Nick Sirianni, I think so.
It's a really interesting point. And should we talk about Grizz and and Mahaffrey a little bit as well. By the way, I'm calling the new offense scheme MGM, which is Mannion, Grizzard, Mahaffrey, and you can put Moorhead in there as well if you want because he's still around. So MGM, which actually is short for meetup in texting form. So is this just a short, quick meetup amongst friends, or is it something that they're going to be doing, every year for the next few years? Let's see how MGM does this year. But talking about the Grizz, as you mentioned, he was a finalist for the OC position. He had 2 interviews. He had a great time in Tampa with Mayfield, helped him be a resurgent QB, one of the best QBs in the league, passing QBs in the league. Let's be honest. I know he didn't have a great year this year, but the whole team kind of had an off year this year. Um, does have play call experience, albeit not the greatest sample size this year, but he's been around, a lot longer um, than Mannion has. And as you say, it's kind of like you know they're not putting all their eggs in one basket here. They're kind of spreading their risk out. So having someone who is a finalist for the OC role alongside Sirianni, who has been an OC in the past, has called plays in the past, has been a great GM for the Eagles, and having this new, fresh, young um, play calling offensive coordinator in Mannion makes me feel pretty excited about it. I don't know a lot about Ryan Mahaffrey, but clearly he's Mannion's guy. He's been offensive quality control coach, wide receivers coach, assistant offensive line coach. So he's a big, diverse background in at the Packers, and they have had a good passing game and a good wide receiver game for the last few years. So, I'm feeling pretty good about that. But there's so many unknowns right now. Like this is pure speculation as to how these guys are going to perform. Pure speculation about how quickly they can pick up the scheme. And then there's obviously what we don't know. Now, I did message Jamal Singleton about 4 or 5 days ago, and I said, you put no, it must have been more than a week ago. I said, any chance you're putting your hat in for the OC role? Of course, he didn't respond, and I wouldn't expect him to because he's not allowed to say anything. And I obviously respect, and I wouldn't have said it if I did find out. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. But so Jamal Singleton, I haven't heard from him. We don't know whether he's going to be retained as the Eagles running back coach. We obviously hope, as a friend of the podcast, he is, and the incredibly impressive seasons he's had as the running back coach with Sanders and Swift, and obviously Saquon Barkley's record-breaking season. And some of these running backs have gone on to do good things when they've left the Eagles, especially when you look at Swift at the Bears. So we don't know what's going to be happening with Jamal. Part of me hopes that with all of these changes, they're going to have to keep some consistency and knowledge retention in there. Um, and we're going to touch on Stoutland leaving as well. Like, your O-line coach, a new run game coordinator, and a new running back coach, and a new OC in the building feels like a lot of change when we had so much success with the running game last year. And then there's Moorhead as the wide receivers coach, who we don't know if he's going to stay. Again, you might think that with a new tight end and running game coordinator, a tight end coach, and a new offensive coordinator, maybe keeping the wide receivers coach would be a good idea. We'll see, but let's just attack the elephant in the room. And well, there's a few elephants in the room. It's like a fucking zoo. But Jeff Stoutland has officially handed in his resignation for the Eagles. He will no longer be a coach for the Eagles. There is rumors that he will be still in the Eagles building, but won't be a coach. There's rumors that he could seek opportunity elsewhere. There's probably more solidified rumors that he clearly wasn't happy about the run game coordinate responsibilities being taken away from him. And he's no longer, as you say, Mike, he was one of the most consistent success stories, not just for the Eagles, but for the NFL. There's a reason he goes to the NFL draft every year, and he's the guy who at the combine is doing all of the work with the offensive line, right? He's the best in the business. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if positional coaches get into the Hall of Fame, but if they do, he should. Um, how shocked are you, Mike? How much of an impact is this going to have on the Eagles moving forward? Yeah, just take us through that.
Yeah, for me, I was not ready for it. He's like a piece of the furniture, isn't he? You never really hear any great drama coming from the offensive line room. You know what I mean? It's all set in stone. You know that he knows his stuff, and you're always confident that he can do what you need him to do. So I was certainly surprised when they took the run game coordination stuff from him last year, because there's a lot of things that go into that. You know what I mean? That, like, almost like blaming him for the offensive line being banged up, Jalen struggling, AJ throwing his toys out the pram, Saquon struggling. Like, there's so many factors that go into the run game struggling. The idea that you punish him for that seems strange to me. I know when I saw some interviews, like people like Jason Kelsey was interviewed, and he basically said that there's literally nobody in the building that understands the run game as well as Jeff Stoutland. And like I said, the consistency.
And no one who had as much of an impact on Kelsey's career as Stoutland. I mean, that's a big statement when you're talking about Howie and Lurie and Sirianni and Doug and etc.
Exactly. And I think the sort of like Stoutland University piece as well, the sort of like the training and developing of new offensive linemen is a big piece as well. The standard that he implemented 13 years ago and kept consistently throughout that time is going to be a really, really difficult thing to replicate. So you can replace the person, you can replace, the job title, whatever, but that sort of consistency, credibility, the standard that you spent 13 years building, replacing that is a completely different story. So the idea of getting new offensive linemen now, my question is, can we draft, or can we acquire people that need development, or do we need to get people that are pro ready?
It's a good point you made there, Mike, as well. And it's not just the ability to train him up, but it's his insight going into the draft and his insight into giving Howie the advice. Like, surely Stoutland was a big reason why they drafted Jordan Mailata. I know he was a big reason in his development, obviously. Like, Jordan Mailata said he cried when he found out the news. But it's his insight into the draft as well. Like, Cam
Absolutely.
Jordan's replacement for Kelsey and so forth. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you've got somebody with Stout's experience, you can take a punt on a giant Aussie in the 7th round. Whereas actually, if you don't have somebody of that caliber, maybe you have to use up more draft capital and you have to use up a 1st or 2nd round pick.
Yeah. And just while we're on the subject of Jordan Mailata, Mike, a little fun question for you here. Jordan Mailata, obviously ex-rugby player. The Six Nations is on right now. If you could choose one current Eagles NFL player to go and help Wales in the Six Nations, who would you choose and why?
Firstly, there isn't a single player on the Eagles roster that can solve that bag of shit. Secondly, I just for entertainment value and electricity, I'd pick Saquon Barkley, stick him in a number 12 jersey, crash up the middle, a couple of side steps.
Those cuts and side steps will be legit, wouldn't they?
Exactly. If we had Saquon on the pitch yesterday, we only would have lost 48-12.
Yeah, a 1 yard run up the middle would really solve Wales' problems right now, wouldn't it?
Well, thankfully, the Welsh coaches and Kevin Batulo. Hey, Jordan Mailata, if you're out there and you're listening in, or you see this clip of this podcast, please let us know what Eagles player current right now you think would be the best to go into an international rugby team, and tell us why. Let's see if Jordan sees this. Okay, so the second elephant in the room, Phil. I mean, for me, no, you're not the elephant. for me, the offensive line and Stoutland and all of this. So Lane Johnson might be retiring. He's turning 36. He obviously is coming off a really bad injury. Never go back to playing. Landon Dickerson apparently couldn't even move at the start of the year, Jason Kelsey said, and played through horrendous pain. At the end of the locker room, he said he doesn't know if he'll be back. He's only 27 years old. He could retire. Cam Jurgens didn't have his best year this year, although somehow managed to make the Pro Bowl. Tyler Steen had not a bad year, but he's still a relative unknown. 9 penalties, which I believe when I did my research earlier was 79th out of 81st in the guard position according to PFF. He was about middle of the. He was like 17, 18, 20th out of guards when it comes to pass and run blocking, so pretty decent. But penalties obviously a big issue. Fundamentals, Sirianni. So You throw in Landon, maybe not coming back. You throw in Lane Johnson, maybe not coming back. Your left guard, your right tackle. You throw in Cam Jurgens, maybe not being the player we thought he was. We'll see this year. Tyler Steen, maybe not be the player who we hoped he would either. You're left with one elite offensive lineman in Jordan Mailata. Now, I'm not saying all of these things come to pass. There is a world, there is a scenario where Lane Johnson's back. We draft his replacement to learn under him. Landon Dickerson gets fit and healthy again, and he's back to the Pro Bowl. 9 Pro Bowls, by the way, between Lane and Landon Dickerson. Lane has 6, Landon has 3. And Cam Jurgen is a player we thought, and Tyler Steen makes a different step, and Mile continues to be good. We could be fine, but I don't think the odds of that happening are very high. I think the chances of that happening are quite low, and you can win in the NFL and you can win Super Bowls with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. You can't win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts with a bad O line. You can't win a Super Bowl with a bad O line for pretty much anyone. To be fair,
Some things are potentially even beyond the all powerful Jeff Stoutland's abilities, and I'm not saying this is not a. I'm trying to turn it down so that it seems okay that we moved on for him. I kind of just. It feels very much like there's been so much chaos and there's so many issues around players coming back, injuries. It's kind of like the situation around taking play calling, run game coordination away from him, whatever the reasons are for that, and whether it's the right or wrong decision. There was a reason for it. There's a lot going on, and I kind of feel at this point maybe Jeff was like, do you know what, this is just I'm not gonna do my legacy any better because there's players he might know what Dickerson's likely to do. He might know what Lane's likely to do,
that's
and
a
he
good
might just
point.
turn around and go, I think you guys kind of need a fresh start all round. Like, but
Right.
they feel like they're
Well,
ripping
like
the
it might be
band-aid off.
3 years required to get the OLED back to where, and he's like, I'm not going to be around in 3 years' time. I might as well pack it in now and give someone else a go.
Yeah, that combined, I think he has been slighted. I think there is a pride thing. There is an insult, personal offense taken somewhere, even if it's quite small. Jeff doesn't seem like the sort of person who'd have a chip on his shoulder and have his bottom lip drop on the floor because he
No.
had run game coordination taken away from him. But I feel like he's probably looked at it and gone, this feels like it's not, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be able to fix this. And maybe the Eagles have also kind of given the impression saying there's got to be a lot of work. We're going, this is where we're going. And Jeff's just decided you're better off going with someone else. And
I've left companies before when I've seen the ship sinking, Phil, and then the ship has sank.
maybe.
I really hope
Yeah,
that's not the case here.
yeah, you hope that's not the case, but the
Mm.
it could be the element of get the new guys in and get the offensive line's going to be a bit of a mess. We hopefully what we'll see is if Jeff does stick around the building, then that kind of will back up my theory, which is I think he just is stepping aside because he doesn't think that he's going to be the guy to be able to rebuild it. Because he might stick if he sticks around, say like I'll help you I'll still do your draft stuff. I'll still be the guy with the knowledge. I'll tell you, I'll be your consultant for that side of things, but I'll let the guys take over and turn this offense into its new beast. And I feel like that's kind of then feeds back into the hires that they've made all around. Is I feel like they're making it clear that Mannion's going to have everything as every tool at his disposal to succeed, and he's going to do it with his guys. He's not going to have as much influence from Nick. I'm going to give that the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that Sirianni is going to get told to step back, and I feel like he's setting up his staff to be that way. And Jeff probably is saying, "I'm not going to fit into that. You want to run a different kind of offense? It's not me. You took run game coordination around me. It's not me." And it's just best to walk away. It's going to be interesting to see how they draft because you are, if he doesn't come back, you are going to lose. It's almost as 50% of it is on the field. The other 50% is the talent identification, the ability to develop these players. You're losing that as well, and I can't see that the Eagles would be like, yeah, no worries, we're going to go in a little bit of a different direction, Jeff, because you're not just losing the guy, the coach, you're losing the talent spotter. You're not going to do that lightly. So it feels very much like I said. There's a plan, and it's kind of I think Jeff jumped the gun a little bit. I feel like that was him being slighted. It's like I'm going to do this on my terms, and I'm going to I'm gonna wound the Eagles just a little bit to
Mm.
make it clear that this is my decision, my terms. But I
Do you
think
think?
overall, I don't think he'd be making this decision knee jerk. He's probably
No.
he could even have been thinking about it for the last 2 years, going, I need to give this up at some point. And he's just seeing that this is just going to be too much work. He doesn't want to get into the next chapter of the Eagles, and he's just decided that it's now.
Well, thank you, Jeff Stoutland, for your tenure and coach at the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you for the 8 Pro Bowlers that you coached. Thank you for the Super Bowls that you were a part of. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I know I speak for everyone when I say that. Mike, what chance Jason Kelsey will pick up a role as offensive line coach? He could still do his podcast. He managed to play in the NFL while he was doing his podcast. Do you think do you think it could happen, or is he just media now?
I think he's media. As
Mm,
sad as it makes me to say that, I think he's got too much of a good thing going on. To be honest, like
yeah.
he's on, every TV channel. He's on Thursday nights, Monday nights, and then he's like I'm sure his top sports podcast in the US, the New Heights stuff. So I would love to see him back in the building, even in an advisory role. But certainly, as far as offensive line coach, I don't think he'll be anywhere near that.
I don't
Because we
think he'd
need
be a good coach.
I don't know. I think he would. Like he credits Stoutland, and a lot of people have said this. He gets to he maximizes everyone's potential, right? That's what I've seen in some of these interviews. Like excellence, excellence, excellence. He pushes and pushes and pushes. Jason Kelsey is a guy that could push someone. Like if I was thinking about someone to go into a gym with me to push me over to Mike, of course, it would be Jason Kelsey. He's a hype man. He would be on people. He would be all over people to make that happen. I think he would be a good coach personally. But I'm with Mike. I think like he's earning so much money doing media stuff now, and I think I can see it happening at some point.
Yeah.
I could see Kelsey
It's
being
just
a coach in the future.
there's just something. Kelsey feels like the guy that you think's going to be a good coach, but just isn't. It's just there's something about being a coach that we kind of overlook, and I feel
KP.
like yeah, I feel like he's got all the knowledge and he's gleaned like so. It's the same way when we talk about like just because a coordinator worked under a certain head coach, we're going to get that version of the head coach. I don't think it always works that way. I think more of a consultant, more of a guy he wants to be in the building, a hype man, a development of the younger guys. But in terms of coaching and offensive line coaching, scheming, planning, I just feel like I think that's a little. I've got nothing to base it on. It's purely the fact that I look at it and go, I feel like it'd be one of those where it'd be a nostalgic high. I'd be like, oh my God, we're going to win it all because we've got Kelsey, who's been under Stoutland. And I just think that he's a great player and he's got great knowledge of the game. But in terms of the coaching side of it, I feel like I don't think that's his style. I don't think he would want to do that. I think he would know his limitations. And I think he's found his niche, which is media.
All right. Well, Jason Kelsey, I'm talking to you now. If you do see this video, let us know your thoughts. Would you at some point in your career come and be an offensive line coach for the Eagles, maybe an OC in the future, head coach? Is that in your future, or are you just going to continue to be the media superstar that you are? Let us know, Jason, if that's something that's up your street. I'm tempted to text Colleen to see if she can ask him. I don't know. We'll see. I know. All right, folks. We've talked about the O line. Obviously, it's going to be a big need to address in the draft and/or free agency, regardless, kind of what happens with Lane Johnson and Dickerson, because the risk of both of them not being there, even if they are there for this season, is too great not to invest. And we know that Howie invests in the trenches. I'm going to change tack a little bit here. And there was a Micah Parsons podcast this week, which had Mr. AJ Brown on there. Some quotes from AJ saying that he loves Philly is home and that he loves being part of the leadership of the Eagles and specifically how good the offense is. Mike, is this just say what you should be saying in the media spotlight? Don't affect your tradability, or is there some truth behind AJ's words and we could see him back in Kelly Green, Midnight Green, you name it, next year?
I would first and foremost be absolutely dumbfounded if we don't see him back next year. I just think,
Really?
yeah, I don't
Okay.
think he's going anywhere. I never have done.
Interesting.
And I fully believe that when he said those words about how he loves being in Philadelphia and being, a member of the leadership team, blah, 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 I fully believe that he means that on that day. But he's such a volatile character that he could be thinking something completely different the next day. And I'd say that he believes that as strongly that day as well. Like, there's just no, he never seems to look at the big picture. He's very sort of like focused on the here and now, whatever's happening in this moment. But yeah, for me, I think we keep him at least for one more year, not only because there's too much to sacrifice in terms of cap money and a dead cap wastage, but I just think it's all been hyped up by the media too much. I don't believe there's any chance of him going anywhere.
That's interesting, Phil. Look, want to get your take on that right away. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is going to be a very controversial way to put it, but much like the
stepping off his fence.
No, not quite, but much like the missing
perching.
Was it minute or 2 minutes of Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell? I feel like the 2025 season no longer exists, and I feel like a lot of things that were said or done or happened in that period should be consigned to history and not thought of much more what happens now. And I think it feeds into a little bit what Mike's saying in terms of he's saying what in the current moment what needs to be said. But I generally feel like he does believe these things. He just is very emotional. I think I said that last season. He's a heart on his sleeve guy. He finds it hard not to show frustration, to say, he comes off pissed off. He finds it hard to toe the party line. So I feel like last season with Kevin Patullo, he was trying to say what he needed, which was, I like KP, I like what's going on with this offense. It's just, we need to work on it more. And I feel like, that's gone now. Now he's gone, and he knows he's getting a different offensive coordinator. But not only is he getting a new offensive coordinator, they are revamping the offensive side of the ball. They are doing whatever they can to change and fix. And I feel like he might generally be in the moment, kind of looking at it, going, "All right, cool," everything that I've probably raised.
Let's see what happens. Kind of
everything AJ may have said privately or publicly is being addressed. So it's like, how do you appease your star wide receiver? You give him everything he wants, or at least the illusion of everything he wants, which is we're changing it. We're going down the passing route. We're getting passing specialist coordinators in. We're doing this thing.
Is he the star wide receiver anymore, Phil?
Well, that's certainly debatable, and I think we all like
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, it could step into that role, but I don't think Devontae Smith will be that guy until AJ Brown is not in the building. And so as long as AJ Brown is in the building, he is your default wide receiver one until such time as he falls off a cliff. And it's not been him that's fallen off a cliff; it's the offensive scheme that has been holding him back from achieving.
Well, he was dropping catches like hot potatoes towards the end of the season.
Yeah, but again, the fucking scheme, Liam. Let's just, like I said, we're just going to look at 2025 and just.
I'm not sure we're clipping this video in comparison to Jeffrey Epstein, by the way.
No. Yeah. It's the Occam's razor side of things. It's like the simplest explanation is often the correct one, and it's literally 2025 was a shit show offensively. They're changing everything, and I think AJ Brown's going to respond to that. Like if the Eagles kept KP or went down,
his legacy demands it. Phil. His legacy demands it.
Yeah, he's getting to that point of his career as well. But I think if they got in, I don't know if Mike McDaniel would have been AJ's choice. I don't know if Dable would have been AJ's choice, but I guarantee if one of those come in, there would have been a high chance we would be going, is AJ going to like this hire? Is he going to like what they've done now? But you can't argue that they're not doing everything they can to indicate that they want to keep him and then trying to fix things in a way. It just doesn't make sense financially either. We've talked about it to death that
Max Crosby trade for AJ Brown. What are you doing?
Stuff like that. Yeah, I'm doing that because I feel like we've got enough in that the impact that Max Crosby would bring versus a star wide receiver, where we've got Devontae Smith. I think if we didn't have Smith, then maybe not so much. But I feel like they're doing everything they can to suggest they want to keep him around. It doesn't really make sense. I think he could go.
I think they're doing everything they can to make sure his value is there.
Yeah, and for both parties, I think it makes sense next year for financially and everything reasons. I think they'll give it another go, and I'm with Mike. I think he's going to be here and raring to go.
All right. Well, I disagree. I do not think AJ Brown will be in an Eagles jersey next year. So we shall see what transpires in the offseason. That's what's fun about the offseason, which starts tomorrow, by the way. A 10-second silence for the last few hours of the Eagles being super. Fuck the silence. Let's do an Eagles chant. Eagles. Eagles. Go Birds, baby. We got another hour and a half until the Super Bowl kicks off here. And by
Hey,
God, it's
Liam,
been fun.
do you
Go
remember
ahead.
when we were doing the tush push? Passing out last
Oh
year.
my God,
Oh,
yes.
memories.
Were you there, Mike, at the
I,
Passion last year?
I wasn't. I was
No.
in Cardiff
Oh
with Phil
yes.
last year.
Yeah, nice. We we were we were on the floor like tush pushing in the bar with
It was
Jalen.
more a rugby scrum.
It was, yeah, yeah. That's why they're banning it this year. Oh, by the way, yeah, it's going to be banned this offseason, right? Does
I
anyone
don't
see the
know. They
tush
won't
push?
ban it. They won't ban
No,
it.
really?
No, no,
I
they
don't
won't
think
ban
they
it.
will either. There's too many
Josh
other
Allen's
teams
new
doing it as
favorite
well.
play, isn't it?
It's not that. It's that they tried to ban it by banning it. What they've done this season is ban it by making it less viable play, and I feel like now it's like the Eagles are just going to go away from it because it's not as valuable as it was. Other teams are kind of doing it now, so they can't, like I said, kind of what Max said, they can't get rid of it because other teams are doing it. But I think that they're banning it by making it not an attractive play, so they're kind of killing it rather than banning it.
All right, good stuff. Mike, a few questions for you. What are your plans for tonight? You staying up to watch the Super Bowl, or are you getting a like good night's kip?
I am indeed staying up. I was supposed to be in work at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I've done a swap with one of the lads in work, and I'm going at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening instead.
Hey, we
Nice.
go.
I
What we
was
got on the food agenda, beer agenda? What's going on?
We've got some Guinnesses in the fridge, and
Oh,
I've bought some fancy quarter pounder burgers with some cheese and avocado that'll be going in there.
oof.
Um, I'm just in the house on my own tonight, which is a little bit annoying because I was invited to Bristol with Sean and Limes, and I
Yes.
declined because 10 of the guys from the gym said they wanted to come out, and I booked the table at
Oh
the
no.
sports bar in Cardiff, and 8 of them decided to jump ship yesterday. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's nice,
Yesterday.
though.
Yeah, like they went, oh, I thought it was on a Saturday. Oh, it's on Sunday. Now I got to work on Monday. And I'm like, well, now I've just turned down the opportunity to go to
Mike,
Bristol with the girls. Absolute
It's not that
now
nightmare.
far
you
away. You can
know
get in your car,
never.
mate.
Now you know never ever to invite them to anything ever again.
Never trust a Welshman.
Never, never just a Welshman. Good stuff, Phil. You got some wings on the go, right? What's going on with you tonight? I know you're not staying up for it all, but
Well, yeah, no, there's no way I can stay up for it all tonight. I'm gonna see how it goes. I'm just gonna take as much as I can before I get too tired. But I've got to be up for work and various other things tomorrow. But I've decided to do some wings. I'll probably have them in a minute, and then just watch as long as I
kind of wings,
can
Phil. We
muster.
listeners need details on this
I
stuff.
could just brining them in some garlic and mustard seeds water for the last 6 hours or so, and then I've got a
Hello.
Louisiana Cajun rub from Morrison's, I think it
Ooh.
is, that's just going to go get lathered on, stick them in the air fryer, and
You
just
can
sit in front of
lather
the
me with
TV
that
for as long as I.
Louisiana rub anytime you want.
Well, that's me not eating now.
I've had 2 Corona Lights, gentlemen, and I'm flying. Mike, what are we doing in the
We are
draft?
in America now.
I know. What are we doing in the draft, bud? Where do you want to see the Eagles go in the first couple of rounds?
I think it's got to be offense for me. Like our defense is still very strong. I think the difficulty on the defensive side is going to be keeping as many players as we can in free agency. I think people will disappear, but when it gets to the draft, I think for me, especially with all the talk around Lane and Dickerson's possible retirement, you got to go offensive line. I had a little look at some of the prospects. If I was Howie, I would go there with the 23rd pick. But then the question is who's going to be available at pick 23. There's quite a few decent offensive linemen in this draft, and the one I've been looking at is a guy called Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I think he'll still be on the board at 23. So if I was Howie, that's where I'm looking.
Love that research as well, Mike. Well done. Yeah, I'm gonna make another take here. I don't think the Eagles are going to draft at 23. I think Howie's trading up. I think it could. I think AJ Brown could be involved in that move if he's not traded before. Was it pre-June? It's pre-June, it's not great to trade him. Maybe he won't be involved in the trade, AJ, but I can see Howie moving up with all of these changes. He's going to make some swings, like in free agency, in the draft. The cap's gone up. The cap's going to continue to go up.
They
Jalen's
can
contract doesn't look that bad now, considering how much other quarterbacks are being paid in the league.
well they can designate. I think it's 2 trades that made before June as post June trades. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, at least one. I think you could do it because I think we had this discussion last year with such things as
This kind of
we might
knowledge
have
isn't
invited
normal
Derek.
on the British and Irish Eagles podcast. Phil.
So I think there's a chance that they can how we can wangle it. So yeah, if there's a trade to be made, they can make it. But yeah, I don't think they're trading up because I feel like there's too many needs, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Harry will want to give up any draft capital to get one particular guy because there was more than one need. Yes, I mean, if I haven't looked at any of the draft prospects, but if there's a top 10 guy that's falling into the teens, then maybe. But I feel like if there's enough offensive line talent to wait for the right one to drop, that they'll do that. There's a chance that they go wide receiver as well if they do make a trade. That they could go for one of the top wide receivers to replace someone like AJ Brown going into the draft. But I think it's given everything that's happened, I feel like you'd be madness not to get the best tackle, best guard available off the board to either supplement Lane or to bolster the offensive line, especially since you've now lost the talent of Jeff Stoutland and there's a lot of new schemes coming in. You're going to need some new blood in on the offensive line, one way or the other.
Do you think they could sign Fred Johnson for a couple of years at the right tackle and give him a whirl? That's a possibility because he wants to be a starter. If Lane doesn't come back, he could be the starter for the Birds.
He needs more development, but to be honest, I take him over
a rookie right now.
Yeah, I take him as a known entity that I believe that he could do it more than a rookie. But and in the interest of having more than one hole, he would allow us to not have to address too many. At the same time, I think there's just a lot of questions. I'm looking forward to hopefully. I'm trying to persuade Mick to do the Road to the Draft podcast. I've offered to join him because I want to hear about these talents because I need to know because now I'm more interested. Given everything that's happened, I think the whole fan base is going to be more attuned to what's going on in the combine and everything because there's going to be a lot of speculation. And this isn't just we need one position. Howie's going to go in and get this guy and job's done. We don't need to worry about it. There's going to be so many variables. It's going to be a lot of discussion. So I need Mick to help me sort it out.
Yeah, and we're obviously going to get Gail Saunders on the podcast as we always do. We're going to get our friend Tony on the podcast. He's got great draft insights. Mike, what's your college football like? Do you follow it much? Do you do much research pre-draft?
Yeah, I try to. I follow it throughout the season. I've got the zone on my phone, and if I'm at work on a night shift, I'll stick it on a Saturday night sort of thing, and I'll watch a game. I follow Penn State, which was a bit shit this year, but I try to keep an eye on it, especially specifically for when it comes around to draft time. You're talking about wide receivers there. If we mess around with AJ Brown. There's a guy in Texas A&M who, if we could get him, his name is KC Conception. So I like the sound of him.
Mixed guy.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get Mike involved in Road to the Draft, Phil.
Well, like I said, I think we need to bring in
Eminem do the draft.
Yeah, we need to get some knowledge of the draft prospects because there's going to be a lot of holes to fill. So.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, listen, I'll let you both go. Have lovely evenings. Before I do let you go, predictions for tonight: Hawks, Pats. Give me the winner and the score. Mike, you go first.
Hawks 27-17.
Ooh, I like it. Philip.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I was gonna go. I could change the score slightly, but it's gonna be a Hawks win. I'm just hoping that it's a competitive game and that there's a decent amount of points. I think that does satisfy. I think it's 45. So I did say I was going to go. We've gone over on the points, which I think is 45 points. So maybe a little bit more. But just want to. I think when your team's not in it, you just want something good to watch. As everyone last year keeps reminding us that it wasn't good to watch. It was for us. But scoring the first 34 points and being an absolute blowout isn't good for the neutrals. So let's hope there's a nice competitive game, a nice scoring competitive game. I do not want a Rams-Patriots defensive stagnant.
Well, I think it could be defensive scoring game. Both defenses are very good.
but they're both quarterbacks going to be quite exciting. It's going to be interesting to see if Sam Darnold can finally top the mountain after his torrid ordeal. It's a really good underdog story, but with Drake May is obviously quite an exciting liable to throw a bomb and an interception or two, so it should be fun.
Yeah, I don't want Stephon Diggs to win a ring. I'm fed up with the Pats winning too many Super
Definitely
Bowls.
Seahawks got to win.
I don't mind. I like May's fine. I like May. I like Vrabel. I think he's a good guy, good coach. But for me, Hawks all day. Bird gang, baby. We've got to represent our birds. Sam Darnold, great story. JSN, electric wide receiver. What Devontae Smith would be in a scheme designed for him. Great running back. You go Walker, Charbonnet. I'm not sure if Charbonnet's fit for the Super Bowl. No, he's not. Thanks, Mike. But Walker's a great running back. And yeah, I'd love. I know I've got a few people who I know who are Hawks fans. Couple of people we met in Dominican Republic, and my buddy James Trendle, Trendy as he's known, back home. Shout out to you, Trendy. Hope your Hawks bring it home tonight. And that's the only time we'll say anything nice about any of our team in the NFL. Thanks for listening in, Mike. Thank you, sir. You've been an awesome guest again. Looking forward to seeing you on the show more as we continue to ramp things up towards the draft. And yeah, listen, thanks for joining. Phil jumped off your fence a few times today. Nice to see. Mike repping the American flag on there before the Super Bowl. Also nice to see. Hopefully the Hawks win tonight. And for everyone listening in, we'll be back in a few weeks. Thanks for all of your listenerships, your reviews, your comments, your feedback, for engaging with us. We are the British and Irish Eagles. We are Philly Sports International. And we'll see you soon. Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds.
Celebrate victories, rally through challenges, and bond with fellow fans as you toast with a dram of Loch Lomond single malt whisky. From tailgating gatherings to watch parties at home, Loch Lomond whisky becomes an essential companion, enhancing the moments that make football so extraordinary. It's the perfect accompaniment, from the joy of victory to the bittersweet moments of defeat. Loch Lomond offer a wide range of malts, with their flagship perfectly balanced, and signature expressions Inchmourn and Inchmourn to suit any taste palate. Celebrate greatness on and off the field this season with a perfect balance of Loch Lomond whisky and Eagles football. From the first pour to the crowd roar, fly Eagles fly.